I really enjoyed the scene in episode 5 where Bucky brings the Dora Milaje to nab Zemo. It definitely shows that Bucky is serious about turning over a new leaf, though in a cheeky tit for tat harkening back to Zemo calling out the old activation words when Bucky came to visit him in prison, he's not above pulling the trigger of an unloaded handgun to see how Zemo reacts. That was kind of fun. Clearly, Ao still has some fondness for Bucky, and that part of the scene was great, and it is always good to see Ao. But what I haven't seen much conversation about is what Zemo was doing there and what his plans were. Now, clearly, he expected Bucky and the Dora to find him, and I think he was hoping they would kill him. He looked right down the barrel of that gun and didn't flinch. Moreover, he was just waiting there at the Sokovian Memorial. You can almost imagine that the family carved into the stone there are Zemo's. Personally, I think he was waiting to be killed so he could be with them again. Zemo's a great villain because he has a legitimate grievance you can empathize with, and because he actually has some principles. He even has a good argument about why super soldiers shouldn't be created. The show has been setting up this question of do the ends justify the means? Remember that Machiavelli book he had in prison. And clearly Zemo comes down most firmly on the affirmative answer to that question. Now, Bob, a few questions for you. What do you think about this scene? What's your reading of the relationship between Io and Bucky? And where do you place all the main characters in this show in terms of their answer to the question, do the ends justify the means?
Okay, after Zemo says, "Hey, Bucky, I'm not going to kill you, and I crossed my name off of your book. I forgive you. Whatever you did, you felt you had to. We're cool." He feels he, as best as he can, has completed his mission about the super soldiers.
Yeah.
He's destroyed all the serum that he knows about. The only other serum is coursing through the veins of people, and he's expecting that the upcoming fight is going to take care of a lot of that.
Yeah.
So in his mind, he's like, okay, I've done what I can do. I'm ready to go to prison or, wherever I'm going, wherever Bucky's going to send me. And then he sees, Bucky puts the gun in his face, and he kind of, when you hear the click, he kind of flinches a little bit, but not really in fear, more of surprise. Like,
yeah,
I'm not dead.
And I think right before then, he even gives Bucky like a little nod, like, I'm ready.
Like, I'm ready to go, dude. All right,
and
let's do it.
Yeah, and face it, Zemo's a guy who thinks like 10 steps ahead.
Right. Like, he knows, like, when he points out, hey, you've never been to the Sokovia Monument, and then stands there waiting for him, and he's like, I expected you a long time ago. Like, he's obviously been there waiting on him to show up. It's not like he went there to say his goodbyes to his family and then bounced and tried to run away. He waited there for Bucky.
Yeah. I mean, come on. It's like, is the Dora Milaje not going to find you? He knows that this is coming. And so, yeah, I think he is prepared for whatever's going to befall him. But I did kind of get the impression that he wasn't opposed to them killing him in a way, or at least that he accepted.
Well, he accepted that as a likely outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I thought that was real interesting. And the other thing about this scene is like, so Ao at some point says, you should make yourself scarce in Wakanda for the time being, White Wolf. And he's like, fair enough. And my reading of that was because, everybody in Wakanda knows that he, helped Zemo get out or something like that, probably.
Yeah. I mean, she, on a personal level, understands, like, I get it. But, that her loyalties lie with Wakanda.
Oh, yeah.
And Zemo's basically the most hated man in Wakanda. So while she kind of gets it and, doesn't fault Bucky for it, she can't just be cool with it.
Yeah, I got the impression that she still, I think she does care about Bucky.
She does, because he immediately is like, oh, and I have a favor to ask. Immediately after she says,
right,
dude, you're in trouble. He's like, yeah, I'm in trouble. I get it. Can you do me a favor? And she stops and listens like, okay, let's hear it. Like she
Yeah.
doesn't just, flip him the bird and be like, no, dude,
It's
go
also her
away.
Yeah, it's also her face when she's telling him that, and the tone of her voice. I mean, just her acting in this. You get the impression that she's, it's almost like she's scolding a child. Maybe that's a bridge too far, but it's like, don't do this, but like, I still care about you,
Well, it would be like me telling you off. It's like, dude, you messed up. I don't hate you because I've known you since we were 4, but you
Yeah.
still messed up,
Yeah. Yeah, because, from what we've learned in this show, it seems like she was the one sort of like training him or helping him get, to this point where he's got the brainwashing like all sorted out and like out of his system. Like obviously Shuri did something to his brain, right? But that he still needed like some work after that. And she was there to do that work with him. And so how do you go through that whole thing and not care about that person? And didn't she say at the end of that flashback scene that she was proud of him or something like that?
You were given that impression if she doesn't
it was
come
just
right out
the
and say
tone
it.
of her voice, maybe.
Yeah.
But she was like, you're free. And I felt like she was, in a sense, proud of him in that moment. Or, I don't know if that's quite the right word, but like, they have a relationship where she does not hate him,
Right.
And so, therefore, she wasn't there to like try and take him into custody or anything. I think, like, you're right. Like, she gets it, but she's like, you screwed up. And like, and here we are. And she did that favor for him, obviously. And the other thing this made me think of, which this is why I like to watch the episode a couple times, because I different things occur to me like on the second watch through, is like, okay, so you remember in Black Panther, the kind of one of the results at the end of the plot, like at the end of that movie, was Wakanda deciding like, okay, we're going to be less cut off from the outside world, and we're actually going to start sharing some of our technology in ways that we think is appropriate, right? We're not going to be shipping weapons out to people, but like we're going to be doing stuff, right? So to me, like, I feel like they would not have done this favor for Bucky prior to the events of Black Panther, right? But now, when T'Challa is king and he has this new policy of like, we're going to help out, our brothers and sisters around the world, not by, shipping out mass quantities of weapons and doing arms sales and like trying to foment some type of worldwide rebellion, like what's his face was going to do. But like, we're going to try and help the world. Well, I think that's kind of what they're doing with giving whatever they gave to Sam. So that's how I feel about that. It's not a big thing, but that connection just kind of occurred to me,
Right.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say about this scene and Zemo and the Dora?
Well, they take him to that Marvel prison,
the raft.
Yeah.
That actually says to me that they're keeping Zemo in their back pocket for possibly something down the line.
They're not like, okay, we're going to take you to stand trial and then we're going to execute you. It's like you're going to spend the rest of your days here. So is that setting up the Marvel version of the Suicide Squad? What was that? The Thunderbolts or something?
It's interesting. The raft does exist in Marvel Comics, and I don't know if that's what they actually call it, but they do keep a lot of like superpowered people there. Yeah. And so, they set this up way back in Captain America: Civil War, right?
Well, yeah,
so I have a feeling
had Captain America and everybody
that one day down the line, they now have the raft as a thing where they can say, "Oh, by the way, we've been like just throwing all kinds of powered people in there, and now, oops, something happened and it's a big problem, and now we have to have a movie or a show about how we have to fix it."
Yeah.
I feel like that could be down the line.
Absolutely.
And, and Zemo is an interesting character because he could very well be the guy who like makes the problem happen at the raft, or he could be the guy that all the super people leave behind that the heroes go to and be like, what do you know, to help us get all these super powered people, and that he would help them. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
That, that could happen either way. So, okay, let's move on to our next topic.